How does Russell Westbrook fit in with this Lakers roster? Let's get into this. Quickly before we get the video started, if you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more NBA content just like this one, hit that subscribe button and that post notification bell. Anyways, back to the video. You gotta give Russell Westbrook a ton of credit for what he's been able to do throughout his NBA career. He was able to average a triple-double not only for one full season, which is crazy enough, but he's basically been doing it every single season after that season with the OKC Thunder where he averaged a triple-double. Think whatever you want, maybe you think that Westbrook is only going for triple-doubles and he doesn't necessarily care about winning, but whatever you think, you have to give Westbrook credit because that's absolutely incredible. Before Westbrook did it, there was only one guy that did it, which is Oscar Robertson, and the fact that Westbrook has not only been doing it for one season, but basically every season is absolutely incredible, and you have to give Westbrook a ton of credit, whatever you believe. And besides that, Westbrook has basically been an all-star and really a superstar for almost his entire career at this point. And besides that as well, Westbrook, James Harden, and Kevin Durant made the NBA Finals when they were all just babies in the NBA. Westbrook has definitely accomplished a ton of things within the NBA, and in my opinion, I still think Westbrook's a very, very good player in the NBA. But after Westbrook's fantastic OKC tenure, he then moved on and got traded to the Houston Rockets, where he looked good at first with James Harden, but eventually just broke down, and in the playoffs they just didn't do what they expected to do, and he was only there for one season. Then after that, this previous season, he went to the Washington Wizards for one season, where Westbrook still played pretty well for the Wizards, but overall the Wizards didn't necessarily go where they wanted to at the beginning of the season with Westbrook and Beal. I don't think anybody, including the Wizards, thought they were going to win a championship with these two guys, but I think a lot of people around the NBA thought when you have Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, especially in the Eastern Conference, they could at the very least be in the playoffs, maybe a 6th, maybe 5th seed, maybe even a 4th seed if they overachieved. But the Wizards overall, they just didn't have enough talent around Westbrook and Beal, and they weren't even able to make it to the playoffs. They were basically the worst team in the Eastern Conference throughout the entire season, mostly. At the end, they kind of picked it up a little and got all the way up to that 10th seed, but either way, they didn't make the playoffs, so it was kind of a failure for the Wizards this previous season. But eventually, after the year ended, the Wizards ended up trading Russell Westbrook to the Los Angeles Lakers to form a pretty formidable big three with Westbrook, LeBron, and Anthony Davis. And after a pretty disappointing season last year for the Lakers, mostly due to injuries, there's a lot of excitement going into this season with this new big three they just formed. But before we can talk about the fit of Westbrook on this Lakers team with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, let's actually take Westbrook's game point by point to really see what he does well on the court. So first, starting with Westbrook's best ability, which is his driving and finishing ability. Obviously, we all know Westbrook for being one of the most athletic players we have in the NBA, and when Westbrook really gets a full head of steam going downhill, whatever defender's in the paint is always going to be in trouble. He has crazy athleticism to posterize that player more likely than not, but also even besides using his crazy athleticism to get some posterizing dunks, he also uses it pretty effectively with his layup packages as well. He has some nice up and under layups where he goes from the left side of the basket, finishes at the right side, or vice versa, and also he uses his athleticism pretty effectively to hang in the air and just put up either righty or lefty layups because he is ambidextrous, and that's the biggest reason why he's so effective once he gets all the way to the basket, because he doesn't always need to dunk over you. He can also finish around you with crafty layups. But even besides that, I mentioned this in a lot of my videos, but I think every point guard should have a floater within his game, and Westbrook is no different. He has a pretty effective floater within his game as well, making his driving and finishing ability just a very complete game overall. But now talking about Russell Westbrook's mid-range shooting ability, this is definitely something that's very elite at this point as well. Coming into the NBA, Westbrook put in a ton of work in his mid-range shooting ability specifically, and you could definitely tell at this point all the work that he's been putting in each and every offseason and each and every season that he's played in the NBA, it's really paid off to this point. From the mid-range area, Westbrook is basically automatic. He has a pretty good catch and shoot mid-range jump shot, of course, but the main ability from that mid-range area is his pull-up mid-range jump shot. Westbrook, obviously, as I mentioned before in the video, and I think we all know, is extremely athletic. So that pull-up mid-range jump shot not only naturally puts your defender off balance, but also Westbrook jumps as high as he can, and nobody's going to get a block on that or even a good contest on that shot. And the fact that Westbrook's been working on that shot for so many years, it's basically automatic at this point. Westbrook also has a nice post turnaround fadeaway jump shot as well because that crazy athleticism he has, and also great footwork. Typically you don't see that post turnaround fadeaway be very effective for a point guard, especially a guy of his size at 6'3", but Westbrook really does make it work. So his mid-range shooting ability is also a very good part of his game. But now talking about Westbrook's three-point shooting ability, this is definitely an area of his game where he really does struggle pretty tremendously, and one of the biggest reasons why people don't think he's a winning player anymore in the NBA. So Westbrook obviously has the ability to shoot that three-point jump shot, and there's definitely some games where he could shoot pretty well, maybe even very well if he's hot that certain night. But overall at this point, Westbrook is definitely not known as a great three-point shooter or even a good three-point shooter. But specifically talking about the ways he can shoot from that three-point range, of course he can catch and shoot. Obviously he has the ability to pull up from that three-point range. He can cross over into a three-point jump shot. He can do a sidestep, step back. He definitely has a ton of ways he can shoot that three-point shot, but he's not known as a guy that's very efficient at it. There's been so many games where Westbrook just completely is either off that game, or maybe this is just the new Westbrook where he completely cannot hit a three-point jump shot for his life. The defender that's guarding him completely falls back all the way into the paint, and Westbrook would continuously shoot that three-point shot and continuously miss. There's some games where Westbrook would go 0 for 7, 2 for 7, maybe 2 for 10, 2 for 15, just crazy bad percentages from that three-point range, and he would just refuse to stop taking them. He would continuously take them, and when you're missing that much and being that inefficient, of course that really does hurt your team. And probably Westbrook has lost his team a bunch of games by just taking too many three-point jump shots and not realizing that he can't hit that shot. Now of course you would like to see Westbrook work on his three-point jump shot and try to get those efficiency numbers up at this point in his career, but Westbrook has already been in the NBA for a long time, and you would assume that he has been working on that three-point jump shot for some time now, and for whatever reason he just can't shoot it at a high percentage. So it's hard for me to believe that Westbrook could ever really change his three-point shooting woes. I think at this point he's going to be a guy that could hit a three-point jump shot. Maybe some games where he's hot he'll be able to hit them decently efficiently, but for the most part he's definitely not going to be a three-point shooter and not going to be a guy that's going to shoot above 35% from that three-point range. But now talking about Westbrook's passing and playmaking ability, this is definitely something that's very effective, and he's always been known as being a great passer and playmaker throughout his entire career. Basically each and every season, in terms of the numbers, he's always leading or within the top 5 or 10 players in terms of assist numbers each and every season. He's always going to find that wide open guy either in the corner, at the wing, at the top of the key, wherever. But also specifically, Westbrook's amazing in that pick and roll. Either he's going to finish at the basket by himself for a wide open dunk or layup. He's going to find either the rolling center that he's running the pick and roll with, or the popping center, or he can find a guy, of course, within that pick and roll offense, either in the corner or wherever. He's always going to find the wide open guy. But another thing that Westbrook does very effectively is he can obviously get that defensive rebound and quickly push the ball up the court and find that wide open guy for an easy dunk, layup, or three-point shot, wherever it is. He does a great job at just getting the rebound and going quickly into the fast break, and just making his teammates' lives a lot easier as well. But now talking about Westbrook's defensive ability, this is always something that he's been known as a really good defender throughout his entire career, and even more recently he hasn't been as great of a defender as he used to be earlier on in his career, but still at this point he's strong, athletic enough, and just smart enough on the defensive side of the ball to still be a pretty good defender on that side of the ball. So I think overall the whole package of Westbrook that you're getting on this Lakers team is definitely going to be more of a benefit than it would be a negative, of course. But with all that being said, how does Westbrook actually fit on this Lakers roster? So there's some parts of Westbrook's game that would immediately benefit this Lakers organization and roster without even really building a chemistry. The first thing would be him just grabbing the rebound on the defensive side of the ball and quickly pushing the ball down the court quickly, either scoring for himself and getting an easy basket or getting an easy basket for one of his teammates. Something like that is going to benefit this Lakers team immediately. Another thing that would immediately improve this Lakers roster is just his defensive ability. Of course, any team, especially a team that's contending, always needs more defenders, and adding a guy like Westbrook, who at this stage in his career is still a pretty good defender, is definitely going to be a benefit for this Lakers roster immediately. But with that being said, there's definitely some concerns going with Russell Westbrook joining this Lakers team, and the first one is, of course, both LeBron and Russell Westbrook are both pretty ball dominant players, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they actually work that out. Now, of course, I can't see LeBron James just sitting on the side and letting Russell Westbrook cook and he'll just be a spot up three-point shooter. Obviously, that's not going to happen. So more likely than not, LeBron's going to be the more ball dominant player, and then Westbrook's going to have to camp either at the corner 3 or wherever for a spot up three-point jump shot. Maybe he makes a backdoor cut to the basket, but obviously that's not using Westbrook as effectively as he possibly could. As I mentioned before in the video, and I think we all know this, Westbrook's not a good catch and shoot three-point shooter at this point in his career, so I think it would be kind of a waste just to keep him camped out at that corner three-point shot or that wing three-point shot or wherever, and just make him shoot three-point jump shots. Even if he's wide open, he's shown in his career that he's not going to hit a high percentage of them. So how are you actually going to work this out between these two? Now, of course, both Russ and also LeBron are both stars in this league, and they also both want to win an NBA championship. So more so than not, when you have two stars on your team that have the same goal of winning an NBA championship and there's some issues on the court, they typically tend to figure things out. But besides this, in my opinion, what I think head coach Frank Vogel should be doing, and probably he will be doing, is mismatch both LeBron and Russell Westbrook's minutes. Similar in Houston, whereas Russell Westbrook and James Harden, both of those players are obviously very ball dominant, and just having Westbrook camp in the corner is not going to work out. So what they did then is they would start both of them, and at the beginning James Harden would be more of the ball dominant player, but then eventually they would take James Harden out of the game and keep Russell Westbrook in the game, and then he would be the more ball dominant player and just cook with the second unit. So in my opinion, for the Lakers, I think they're going to basically do the same thing, where they start both Westbrook and LeBron. LeBron's going to be the ball dominant player at the beginning, then eventually they're going to take LeBron out of the game, and then Westbrook's going to be the more ball dominant player playing with the bench. I think that's probably what they're going to do, and I think, in my opinion, that's probably the best way to attack this issue. But overall, I think the addition of Westbrook to this Lakers roster is definitely going to have a big boost for them and maybe take them over the top and actually win an NBA championship this next season. I could honestly easily see them making it all the way out of the Western Conference, and then in my opinion, they're probably going to be playing the Brooklyn Nets in the NBA Finals, and I think this trio of LeBron, Westbrook, and Anthony Davis could honestly beat the trio of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden in Brooklyn. But we'll see what happens this next season. I think this next season is definitely going to be a very exciting one. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you guys think Russell Westbrook would be a good fit for this Lakers roster, or do you not think so? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe and hit that post notification bell. It really helps me out a lot. Until the next time, peace out, guys.